Okay. Okay, it should be starting to work in a minute, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, it looks like we're live on Facebook.
All right, awesome. So hi everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today is November 17th, which means that we have 3 days left in our holiday t-shirt campaign. Dang, Isaiah closed my computer, which means that I'm no longer in the meeting as the t-shirt campaign QR code, but I'll fix that in a second. Anyway.
Do you want me to play the video?
Yes, so Jennifer is gonna play the little video that Carly made for us. So yeah, I'm gonna fix that while she does that.
Shoot.
Hello again, everybody. Carly Webb here for Kimura's Cultural Corner, and I'm here to talk to you about holiday gift giving. It's going to be a little bit tricky in the 2021. Let me explain. Now, this card represents you. The track represents all your gift giving options. And those cards in front of you, well, they represent the worldwide supply chain crisis. And they're really going to get in your way, because you're going to be battling the traffic for stuff that may not be there. And if they do end up getting there, it may not get there soon enough for you to be able to send it to your loved ones in time for the holiday season. But hey, why deal with all this when the KCC has a solution? Let's check it out. My t-shirt, these dope hoodies with the labyrinth design on them. And if you order them on November 20th at the links below, you will get them to the people you care about just in time for this holiday season. Along the way, you'll help Kimura's Cultural Corner continue to hold space and build community. To be sharp, sassy, and premier.
Jennifer, can you mute your mic?
Get a hoodie, get a t-shirt, and grab one of each.
Should I put the link in the chat so people can,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
yeah, so then they can listen to it later when it sounds better.
Yeah. All right.
Should I put the link in the chat so people can,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
yeah, so then they can listen to it later when it sounds better.
Oh, I know what's happening. Hold on.
It's on your side, right?
You're on mute.
Okay, I think it should be better now. It was because I had the Facebook Live sound turned on so we could hear it double. Anyways, so yeah, so I don't know how much of that was actually able to be seen or heard. I was trying to fix this, which I still did not fix, but I will. But yeah, so we have 3 days left in our holiday t-shirt campaign, which the t-shirts look just like this, but they're in black. So if you want a black version of this, now's the time. They'll make great gifts for the holidays. And yeah, so get your KCC, there's hoodies, there's long sleeves, there's regular t-shirts. Yeah, so that's what's going on right now. But like moving forward, today we're going to talk about like the work that the KCC does and how they do it with how we do it with other organizations, and you know what we need and what Kimora needs in order to continue that work, and to continue that work outside of the nonprofit industrial complex the way that she has been. So now I'm here twice. Okay, so if you scan that QR code with your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can do it right from your camera. I don't know about other phones. I know some phones you need an app, but if not, we'll put the link in the chat. Jennifer, if you could do that, that'd be great. If you could find, and if you'd be able to put it on the Facebook Live chat too, that'd be cool. Yeah, so get your t-shirts while you're here. But so where should we start? So we have Patrick here from Knox. Hi Patrick, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're good. We're doing good.
So
We wanted to discuss the lecture on Monday with Dr. Close. Dr. So what's the actions with that?
Yeah, so we're really excited. One of the things that Knox has been doing with the KCC is to try and engage our board in some discussion and broaden their perspective and thoughts as we're making decisions. And as we started to pull together and plan what we were doing, we as I had conversations with Kimora, we sort of arrived at a place of there might be some very good learning sessions we could do that would be of interest to people in the community in general, and that provide an opportunity for folks to kind of learn together. So we're really excited that we are able to do that. We have Dr. Stacy Close, who is Associate Vice President for Connecticut State University. And he's going to be talking about, the title of the lecture is Black South Migration, Tobacco, and Transformation of Black Hartford, 1915 to 1970. So this is, not a matter of Knox basically providing space, following the sort of model and inspiration of the KCC to kind of to all learn from Dr. Close. And be able to experience that together. So it's going to be this coming Monday from at 7 o'clock, and it will take place virtually right here. Or if you're interested in coming in person, we will be at the greenhouse at Knox, which is at 75 Laurel Street in Hartford. So you actually have the option to do it either way, which is kind of cool.
awesome.
Right.
So would you want to talk a little bit more about what you did with the KCC, like how your partnership with the KCC has gone and how it's continuing to go?
Yeah, no, it's really been a great learning opportunity for us as an organization. So this work we're stepping into now is a continuation. We had started and done cultural humility work with our staff, and they'll be continuing that that work, able to fold into some of this with our board. We had the opportunity, I think the week before last, to actually go to the labyrinth and have kind of a culminating experience there, where we were able to walk the labyrinth as a way of sort of formally closing out our staff work and engagement, which has been going on for a little over a year at this point, really having the opportunity to do that cultural humility work with Kimora's guiding hands, as well as I know she works with a bunch of people, but she brought Tree in quite often to do some work with us. And we were really grateful for his participation and all the insights that he was able to add. So as we sort of turn the page, what we wanted is to provide a similar experience for our board of directors members so that those efforts weren't kind of disjointed. And that's sort of what led us down the path of thinking about this different series of events that we could do. So hopefully this is the beginning and a good learning opportunity. And like I said, just really good to see how the staff responded to it. I'm also hoping I can show you if I can sort of approximate everything. So one of the things that Tree did through our work is as we were having conversations, he drew inspiration from what he was seeing and created this painting for us, which is just really neat to tie in with not just our work, but what he was feeling and hearing from the room as we were talking about and learning about cultural humility. So it was really a good opportunity. I think meant a lot for staff people, and I know our board's looking forward to doing the work as well.
I could not just unmute the mic. Okay, that's awesome. So in order to like continue doing this work, I'm sure like I could list all the ways that you can support the KCC, but are there like people here who do support the KCC, and like how do you do that?
I'll speak. I think everyone here supports the KCC by showing up. So showing up is a big thing, showing up and learning and listening. And I'm a member of the KCC, and there are a couple of ways to be a member. One is to support the Patreon, and another way is to do just a straight up annual membership through the website. For me, I also support the KCC by being a partner organization as Nightfall. So Nightfall shares the KCC's work, and the KCC shares Nightfall's work, and all of these organizations. An organization has a lot of definitions, but organizations and individuals kind of, like working together, but also just spreading the word. That's that new way of gathering resources that has to do with the abundance mindset. Like there's definitely enough resources in this community, time, talent, treasure. There's a lot of resources to go around. So if we're spreading the word for each other, then we're connecting our missions to each other's networks. And I think that's a really important way to support the KCC. And then just, I mean, I know I'm the one who screen shared the hoodie fundraiser, but just buying the merch and representing the KCC is a way that I like to be kind of a supportive member of that community, is just representing it on my body. I could say more, but I want to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, so all of those are definitely ways that you can support the KCC. Yeah, please buy our hoodies. That'd be great. But yeah, so Patreon. I know that Patreon is like one of the most important ways that like money comes in for the KCC. And it's really like you can have like a high amount that you pay per month, but honestly, like Kimura always talks about how important the $3 a month people are. And like, it really is just like $3 every month. That's like 300 cents. Yeah, how many quarters is that? Like 12?
So yes, 12 quarters.
Yeah. So I'll put the Patreon link in the chat at some point when I can find it, and then copy and paste it and then put it in the chat. But 12 quarters, yeah, I was right. But yeah, so the Patreon, let me actually get the link right now, or I don't know how to use Kimura's computer. But yeah. Sorry. I'm gonna find the link. If does anyone here support the Patreon? Natasha, do you want to talk about it a little bit, like why you decided to do that and like, yeah, that kind of thing? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I lost my screen for a second. I feel it's a way to help out, just not by being there, but to give back to her for all the work that she does. Not as much I would like to give, but I do what I can because this is very, very important. And Comora's Coastal Corner is very important to this community as well as Comora. And we feel good of doing it.
Oh, awesome. Jennifer put the link in the chat. Okay, so yeah, so the link to the Patreon is in the chat. There's different levels that you can subscribe to. Is that what you would call it? Become a patron with on Patreon. And I know that there's sorry, my phone keeps turning on. So the $3 a month level basically, okay, yeah, so it says if 250 patrons donate $3 a month, then our taxes are covered. So if that's really all it takes is $3 a month. And like if just a lot of people give $3 a month, just $3 a month, just then we can continue doing this work, and Comora can continue doing this work, and yeah.
And this work helps to feed the children and teach the children and both adults how to heal themselves, both mentally, physically, because we have a whole herbal garden out there where we grow food and grow herbs for people to be able to utilize and be able to use. And also even helping out with the t-shirt and the hoodie campaign will help us to achieve and work towards our goals. Because what is it, half of the profit goes to both me and I to help us expand and get housing and find some place safe so that we can work on our craft and do what we need to do, and help the people utilize these herbs and do what they need to do to help themselves. You know what I'm saying? So helping us with these shirts and t-shirts will help you help us help you for the community. It's just like with this fundraiser, it's not a competition anymore. It's us actually coming together and helping us to elevate and get onto our next levels instead of us being at our necks and trying to fight each other for what reason. It's not helping anybody do anything other than for really. This whole fundraising, this whole point of this charity and this whole talk and what Comora is trying to do is to help us all rise. So why not? Nobody could lose in this fight. So, but
Yeah, Emmanuel, you got me thinking about the labyrinth, just specifically that way of inviting community together to come to the Sterling Street space. And, you know, this is something that we're building together in that space. And, you know, so the KCC has funded that through the fundraisers that are ongoing and, you know, inviting folks to come actually build a labyrinth for us to then have conversations and to have that meditative space that community can use, and that we, you know, have the opportunity to teach cultural humility in a space that has this labyrinth that amplifies that message. So the really specific ways that the KCC brings communities together is an Afrocentric and Black queer space that any of us can participate in and be part of those traditions and learn and collaborate and, you know, like build together, but with that being the umbrella that we're under together. I think that's really important and specific about, you know, about what these resources are for and how we're sharing these resources to actually do something together. That's really important.
Yes, everything you said.
Everything.
So I want to talk a little bit more about like some of the things that the KCC does, and like then get more to like back to like how we can continue doing it. So one thing that we have done and are at some point, I don't know when yet, are going to continue to do are the LGBT youth panels, which I have run 2 so far of, which don't bring in any money, but well, you know, they don't themselves bring in any money. People come and will support the KCC based on that, but they don't bring in any money, but they do cost a lot of money because we pay all of the panelists for being on the panel. And so both of those panels that we've done so far were great, if I do say so myself. The first one was in person, and it was just about being queer and being youth, and like how those affect us. And the second one was online. It was virtual, but it was about policing. And so we're planning on doing more, but we can't do that if we can't, you know, support the people who are on, who are going to be on the panel. So it's kind of, I think that's a really good example of like the way that we do things, because a lot of places will just expect you to, or a lot of nonprofits, which the KCC is not one, will like expect you to give your voice and time on panels for nothing. But that's stupid, for lack of a better word, and like kind of disrespectful. So it's important that we are able to continue doing that. I'm planning at some point at the beginning of 2022 to do a third panel that will be basically a reverse of the last one. So instead of LGBT youth talking about the cops, LGBT youth will be talking to the cops about LGBT youth. Does that make sense? So it'll basically be, I'll moderate it as of now. And hopefully I can get some of the police to agree to come to this. I know that I spoke with Chief Thody this summer, and he said that he would be willing to do something similar to what we did at a later date. So, you know, I'm gonna take you up on that, Chief Thody. But in order to do that, again, we need people to support. So yeah. Also, this summer, do you want to talk about that actually?
So this summer we had 2 documentaries about work, and
Yeah, one was the what was it called? The oh my god, that's so bad that I don't know. I'm sorry. It was the one that was on CPTV.
yeah.
And I was interviewed in it. That's all I remember. Oh, Resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Resourceful.
Resourceful.
And then we also had the one that Ephraim made, the Black Art Heals documentary. about the tour. So
And it showed how all these people came together, because it wasn't just us in those documentaries too. It was many other lovely gardens and other people striving for the same thing. And though they had different upbringings towards these things, and they all fought for one goal, which is to teach people how to do for better, whether it was through art, whether it was through herbalism, or just having these talks with the police, or just being a part of the community as a whole. Like if other people was to be able to even collaborate and be able to do this, then it could really bring the community more together, better, and help us to grow more so. So what was the other documentary about? What Ephraim?
it was about the tour last year, the Black Art Heals tour.
I'd like to speak on that.
I was just gonna ask, does anyone have like any ideas of how we can leverage those two documentaries? And there's one more. Sorry, Kimura is texting me about the third, or I guess she didn't mean the Black Art Heals one. I don't know what the other one is. I'm sorry. But does anyone is anyone thinking about ways that those could be leveraged to continue bringing in more people, more support, more money into the KCC, using what we have with those documentaries?
No, it's hard for me not to keep on responding, because I'm very passionate about connecting mission and resources together. And I've worked on the nonprofit side as a professional fundraiser. And I wanted to acknowledge, Naya, something you said earlier about how the KCC is intentionally not a nonprofit. And so there's a very intentional opting out of that particular sector in Hartford that the KCC is achieving. So, participating as a partner organization with nonprofits, but choosing super intentionally with a lot of conversation and just a lot of intentionality to not be a nonprofit. And so that's what we're working with, which means not having direct fundraising opportunities that are available to other social services or other arts organizations, and doing it in our own way. So gathering resources in a way that is much more community centric and, based in the people who are building this community together. So I'm a person who comes from the nonprofit sector, and I, really understand the reasons that the KCC is not participating in that sector right now. So I just wanted to kind of start with that and then respond to what you were saying about how to leverage these resources. And I do think it is about telling the story to the traditional funding sources. So, back in 2020, when there's this reckoning about racial equity and the pandemic and communities being isolated, and this like universal understanding of this change of transformation and change that needs to happen, but we need to make sure in 2021 and 2022 that it is not forgotten. So I think that these beautiful documentaries and other just, press coverage and other recognition of the beautiful things that are happening at the KCC, for me, it really is just about us as ambassadors connecting it back out to our own networks and communities and continuing to just do the overlapping of relationships that the KCC is built for. So those documentaries that came out this summer, they're not old. Like, that's news to a lot of people in our community. So that's how I feel. I think that's a thing that can come from the traditional sector, like just toot your own horn, tell the story, share it with the people who have the resources. And the way to do that authentically and with love is for each of us to believe it, pay attention, find the links, and then share it, and really connect resources to mission, and then invite people in so that the theme that the KCC's been sharing to those of us that are members is that whole idea of giving to receive to give again. So, you know, I'm a member, which means I get this information and this opportunity to be part of what's happening. And then I can and should be sharing it out to my people who can then amplify those messages and then share more resources. That was a long speech, but yeah, that's what's on my mind right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that gets lost a lot. Like, and I'm guilty of this too, but just posting stuff on social media as opposed to like really connecting with people about it and like telling your people about like what's going on and why you care about this. I think that that's really important and something that we should all be engaging in. Yeah, so that, yes, definitely. Another thing that I know I wanted to talk about was, and that goes along with that, is like the need for actual like people to like we need people to do things. It's not the money is like a very important piece to it, and it's just a piece. Everyone has their own like thing that they're good at, and everyone also has things that they don't know how to do. So I think that it's really important that we get people like who are able to do things. Like, for example, like if you're good at fundraising, then it would be great for you to help us fundraise. Or if you're good at driving things from one place to another.
Or even if we have photographers and videographers and people of that sort, or people that knew how to market and promote things better. So if you have any friends or family or friends that know people, like just talk and give them a card or make a card. We can even put QR codes to the documentaries on probably even the shirts if we could, or even next to the site or on cards that we give out to the people, so that we can actually get this documentary out better. So, because this documentary is a big part of, it shows a big part of what the KCC is doing and what the KCC is, and along with the other fundraisers, along with the other people who support the KCC, and it will get a lot of more recognition. So if anybody has any ways to get any more volunteers, or any ideas as to how to get that word out, please indulge and throw some ideas out there. You know what I'm saying? Anything will be beneficial. Anything will help. It's a community discussion.
Yeah, and on top of that, there are specific things that we do need. Like we're working on Christmas ornaments for like KCC themed Christmas ornaments that people can buy for the holidays. And a great example, this is a great example actually, because Jennifer is helping out with that because she's good at doing like outreach kind of stuff and connecting with people and getting them to do what we need them to do. So she has been working with me to get that done because that is her strong suit. And I wouldn't ask someone who didn't know how to do that if possible. It's better to have people who understand the task that you're giving them to do the task. Yeah, so we're working on that. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. Yeah, so does anyone have like any, I'm sorry.
Anybody have a story of how the KCC has helped them in a tough spot, like how has the KCC been beneficial to you, whether it be mentally, physically, spiritually? Yes, you can unmute yourself. So
Sure. I just want to, what I really love about the KCC is it's given me a sense of community. Hey, Jennifer. In the midst of COVID, the fact that you have these weekly conversations, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but it's really, sorry, I don't know what's happening. It's really helped me feel like I'm connected to a community of people who genuinely care. And it's just been so helpful in the isolation. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. That's not how, that just came out of the blue. But I am really appreciative for the space, that it's safe, that it's brave, and that it's welcoming to people like me who, you know, white women have a lot to be held accountable to. And so I'm really appreciative that here's a place where I can do my work of becoming informed and educated without putting emotional burden and labor on someone else. So it's really been a godsend to me. And I say godsend, but I'm like, I'm an atheist. I don't know. I'm a little in a little weird place right now, but I really, 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 really love the KCC.
I so agree.
I'm sorry, Catherine, I missed most of what you just said, but I heard the last part. And
It's just been a great help in the isolation of COVID, because unlike, a lot of, I'm triple vaccinated, but my husband has immune suppression issues. So we are living like it was day one of COVID, and I don't go anywhere. I don't, God, what the fuck? Why am I crying like this? That's so silly. But I just really appreciate coming on every week and seeing faces and having deep conversations, not just chit-chatty conversations. And I love the ones that are chit-chatty and fun, but I also like when we go deeper and when we, pull the scabs off of the ugly stuff and start, letting the stuff that has to come out so we can begin the healing work. So, and the labyrinth, of course, is fucking awesome. So I have so many of my friends who have ordered shirts because they love me and I love you. And it was like, buy those shirts, buy those shirts.
I know I would miss these conversations if they weren't happening. And I have learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
I had to do a panel discussion from Newington High School students today. And somebody asked me a question that was kind of hard to answer. And instantly in my head, I heard WWKD. What could Maura do? And I came up with the answer.
I knew you'd rock that conversation.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
it's dope.
Also, okay. What Catherine, what you're saying is absolutely like, first of all, thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. But that's exactly the kind of thing that I was talking about like reaching out to your network, and like sharing things, like caring, like sharing these things that you care about, that the KC is doing with people that you care about. And like, if people see that and are like, wow, this is awesome, like this work should be continue to be being done, then they can also subscribe for $3 a month or whatever, join the Patreon for $3 a month. I feel like subscribe isn't the right word, but I keep saying it.
I've put that out there to people. It's like, you know, everybody's always busy, and it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter whether you show up for things or you're too far away. $3 a month is not too much to pay to know that the work is being done. And when you can be a part of it, I said, literally almost everything is online right now. And you can be part of these community conversations. And there, whether it's our community or yours, there's stuff to be learned and shared. So I'm trying to bring along as many folks as I can.
Even with me, like I've been blessed to be able to share the space with many great people. Even just being at the KCC, just coming to the KCC, I've been able to perform my music. I've been able to meet people like Patrick and connect with Knox and be able to, we actually have a farmer's market coming up this Saturday where I'll be selling mushroom blends. It has lion's mane, chaga root, turmeric, reishi mushroom, all these things that would be beneficial to clearing out your system and clearing that congestion out of your system and helping you if you've got it. It's great for hot cocoa, great for teas, great for smoothies and all of that. And I wouldn't have been able to even think about being able to vend and being able to get my product out of there. Like my clothes, I've been able to expand my clothing brand times 10, just being able to be in this space and being able to connect with people and being able to talk and walk the labyrinth with people and connect with people that I never thought I would be able to connect with in the first place. Like 4 or 5 months ago, I would have never seen myself in this position, and being able to meet so many beautiful people and being able to be in a space and even share the same mentality or share the same space with people or be able to connect with anybody like this. So I'm real grateful for that. So
I think it's really important that, you know, we live in our own little bubbles, and it's easy to become isolated in that bubble, and you see people as other if they're not in your bubble. And when you break out of that bubble and you can come together and say, there's a person just like me. We have differences, but we have this commonality, and we don't often get the opportunity or the space to do that. And that's one of the beautiful things about the KCC, providing that space for people to get out of their own bubbles and mix and say, okay, things I thought are really not true. And it is a gift, really, a gift. Sterling Street is a gift.
Yeah, and it also just it mixes up our mindset about what we're doing this season of giving. Like, what if, you know, when you center it on just completely different things, like this really specific Black Art Heals message that's been happening all season, and kind of bringing that Black Art Heals message into the season of giving and supporting the KCC with the hoodies and the ornaments, and the fact that the KCC's fundraising always involves supporting other artists, like that, you know, giving to receive to then give again. The KCC uses some of that Patreon to re-gift to Hartford artists and others in the Hartford community that are building at the KCC. And then also I love this is me speaking as Nightfall, the idea that the KCC, when they put out their own Patreon campaign, a lot of times the KCC will also share individual artists' Patreon, Nightfall's fundraising, you know, the idea of that, again, that abundance, sharing abundance and celebrating each other. It's such an idea when you support the KCC, so important that we're actually supporting each other. You know, that it's not that old model that is really racist about there are the haves and the have-nots, and that charitable idea is so out of date, and the KCC is doing something totally different that's very much about mutual aid and mutual celebration. And I just think that's so beautiful, and it's such a joy to be part of that. even when in the midst of difficult conversations about race or about need or about, you know, people not taking great care of each other in our community, the KCC is a place where such a shining example of mutual care.
Yes. So that sounds very much like what Kimura always says about giving to receive to then give again. I feel like it's said a little bit differently every time, but that's the way it was told to me the first time. So that's what I say. But I'm sure that other people have heard that from Kimura or in the context of the KCC as well. Does anyone want to talk about like that more, about how, if you've seen that play out with the KCC and how you think that other people can engage in that type of like reciprocal giving and receiving? Yeah.
Well, for me, one of the things that I've experienced, and so I've participated, you know, Knox participates and works with the KCC, but I also have personally as well. And, you know, one of the things that draws me to it is it's not like really easy to create a safe space on the internet. Like if you go out there on social media, like, you know, there's a lot of pins and needles out there. You know, there's a lot of people creating spaces where you can't really talk and, you know, speak your mind unless you agree with folks. And so I think being able to participate in those discussions, and especially at a time and in a place where everybody can't get together in person, that's one of the ways that everyone, you know, as I've participated in conversations, and Catherine is a great example tonight. It's like just being able and willing to share what your experience is and what your thoughts are. Like other people can learn and grow for that. And then it also invites more people to step into the conversation. And so again, it just keeps it moving forward. And it's a simple thing and it's a little thing, but it's not something that we engage in as much as we could or should. And it's healthy for us to be doing that. So that's just something I've always really appreciated in a way that I think about it. And then the other thing that I've always been really inspired by is just the idea of simple gifts, and the idea of bringing what your presence is important. And just if there's something you can bring to add to what we're doing, even if it's loaning a tool for the day while we're doing a project, volunteering, whatever it is, how that just fits in and is honored and really sort of like helps you feel welcome in that space and gives you the energy to fully participate and to really benefit from it. So that's sort of how I've experienced it.
I've experienced it in ways of showing up in Sterling Street for the cleanups or for the kids, where you guys put together a fundraiser for the kids, and you show up and you participate. And the biggest gift I feel like I've received from this community is just those one-on-one conversations, or even the group conversations, like just learning about somebody new and somebody's perspective on something, and just being able to share that deeper, more personal part of yourself, and somebody else get to share that deeper, more personal part of themselves with you. And just the safe space that the KCC and Kimura has created for that is, and the challenging space, right? You really come up against things you need to learn. And I'm so grateful for that. And the gift of giving time and then being able to just receive those connections in return is definitely, it's filling, it's heart filling. It's such a big space around your heart, you know? So I'm super grateful for that, and just grateful for all the things that I've learned. I was introduced to the KCC through an email through a group I belong to, and or work through, and then went to one of their art bazaars and just was able to really connect and talk to a bunch of people there. Through that, I was able to, through a company I work for, take one of Kamora's classes, cultural classes, which was not at all what I expected. And it really pushed the boundaries, which was so appreciative. And then from there, just participate where I can and just enjoy every minute of it. It's such a gift. It really is. And it's so unique in the foundation of every part of it, of how it's set up. So thank you.
Can I speak of something specifically? So what I learned was about Cash App and Cash App in the Black community and how it's used. And I have been able to participate in making sure money stays within the Black community, and being able to show people my respect for them and my respect for their work through Cash App, paying reparations, asking for emotional labor, people who just need money to get home on the bus. And that's a really important tool. And I'm grateful for knowing about it and for being able to use it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Catherine. That idea of coming to a space with humility and, asking for help. Any of us from any walk of life, like this is a space where we can help each other because we're all coming from different points of perspective and we're coming from different experiences or different points of connection to the KCC. And I really love, Catherine, that you offer things and ask for things both, and that you're very honest about those in these conversations and in other spaces. I really think that that's what mutual aid and mutual conversation is all about. So I really appreciate your naming that, because I think that's really important to a conversation that's about supporting the KCC, supporting each other, and what does that look like? This is supposed to be a revolutionary way of gathering resources, and asking for help is part of gathering resources. It's a two-way street. It's a million-way street, but it starts with that two-way street.
It's a good segue for me when I'm talking to my white friends, to stop talking about charity. People talk about charity. I hate that word. It's like, ugh. And philanthropy, I mean, that's ridiculous. This is how the community keeps itself alive. And this is a way of participating in directly impacting people, and that whole twisted, like, inverse relationship thing of charity. Ugh. So
well, I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to keep going, but I love that you use the word philanthropy, because the root of that is something that community-centric fundraising, the national movement, is trying to get back to. The root of philanthropy is about friendship.
interesting.
So philanthropy, we can reclaim that word as something that's about community and friendship.
I just wish, until we eat the rich, I don't think we can reclaim that. We've got to get rid of the rich, because that's their way of assuaging their whatever feelings they have about their money. But it also allows that person who's bestowing, I mean, it's such an imbalance in the relationship. I still don't like the word, but I like that sentiment. I think we just have to, again, when a philanthropist gives, they're giving their idea of what they think that community needs, and that's not, helpful sometimes.
Sometimes it's not even that benevolent, right? So sometimes in the white supremacist version of philanthropy, sometimes it's about wealth hoarding. So
yeah,
you're not actually even, you're not even in some sort of savior way giving for good. You're actually again, I'm talking about traditions that I hope to burn down and rebuild, but in the tradition of philanthropy that we're trying to be very different from and that we're challenging very directly, it is about giving your money to a family foundation so that a little bit of it can go to community services. And so that's what we're rejecting. That's what we're rejecting in the nonprofit industrial complex, and that's what we're rejecting in the white traditions of philanthropy. So yeah, we want to have philanthropy truly mean direct sharing. But right, the idea of wealth hoarding, like, oh, I can feel good about myself because I'm rich and I'm giving my money to this foundation.
And then I can fly to the moon.
Most of it stays in the bank and makes more money for me, and I don't have to pay taxes on it. And then enough of it maybe goes to some nonprofits so that we can feel good about ourselves, that we're helping our community. So, right, we're rejecting all of that. And we're saying that philanthropy is about friendship and it's about mutual aid.
Okay. I could not unmute the mic. So yeah, I think that that's really important. Because like the whole thing about mutual aid versus charity in the nonprofit industrial complex really like ties into how the KCC is not a nonprofit. I think I said that already, but the KCC is not a nonprofit. And that means that, like, I think Jennifer was the person who was saying it before, but we don't get the same access to like funding and like grants and stuff like that. And also, I know that Kimura doesn't even have time to be writing grants because all of the things that need to get done, and there's just so many things. And so I think money,
Sorry.
yeah, I just let Aaron in from Firing Farm. Hi, Aaron, how are you?
I'm good. Hello.
Good. We were just talking about how the KCC is not a nonprofit and how that means that we don't get the same access to like funding. And so it's great that you're here actually. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you, in your role in, because you're wild gifting, right? That's you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Erin, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. Yeah, I think I wear a couple hats and totally understand being an LLC and not a nonprofit. So my family owns and runs Firing Farm, and we've been doing a lot of stuff with the KCC. And then I'm in a new role as the director of a new operating foundation called the Wild Gifting Project. And so we're looking to fund basically kind of groups, people with awesome ideas that have a social justice component, and they don't have to be a nonprofit or a 501c3. So for example, we were able to contract, or in essence hire the KCC to run programs for the community in the North End of Hartford that had a kind of air quotes charitable outcome to support the community there. So that is a way an operating foundation could potentially support a person, an organization, and also write grant agreements, 501c3 to 501c3. So that's a piece of that work that's happened over the summer. I've known Kimura for a long time. I used to work at Planned Parenthood of Southern New England. And so just building that connection relationship between what's happening in North End of Hartford, which is near and dear to my heart, from working there and managing the Planned Parenthood Center, and then also our work on the farm. So Kimura reached out and said, hey, can we come to Firing Farm? Can you help us with stuff? And so we start their seedlings for the herb garden now on Sterling Street. So it's all, I think that's what I'm supposed to talk about, right? And all the interconnections. And hi, Emmanuel.
So there's actual sharing of people, like people's talents too, right? I
Mhm.
want to hear more about that. That idea of that umbrella sort of
Yeah.
501c3, so that the KCC doesn't have to deal with that business side and sort of the outcomes management. Because what if you just give direct funds to a community organization and they don't have to predetermine the outcomes? What if it's about growing the outcomes as the work is happening? But so that's not the KCC job. That might be your organization's job because of the rules that you're working under. But then the actual people traveling between these two people, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, well, and there's lots of layers. And when I kind of put on the foundation hat, it's helping with the kind of acting in a weird way, like the CFO, helping with payment, checking in. Wow, does this new organization or person who has this awesome idea, do they need insurance? Do they need a lawyer? Do they need, do they want to become a 501c3? How can we help with those things? So it could be the cost of the person time. It could also be these other things that people don't always have access to. And also just access to having an idea, trying it out, and maybe it doesn't go super well. That's a privilege to be able to go try an idea and didn't think about all these pieces. So with my foundation hat on, we're thinking about that. With my farm hat on, is really thinking about, we have, as a farm in Portland, Connecticut, south of, across the river from Middletown, south of Hartford, we have access to land and space. And what does that mean in our privilege to have access to those things? How do we provide access and space to, more diverse community, or folks that don't feel like they can go out and be in nature? Or yes, the public park is there, but it closes at dusk. And what does that mean? Or, all the things we've heard about in the media where Black and brown folks have a barbecue and then now, the police are there because they're being too loud or whatever. Like, what does it mean to have access to a yard, to land, to space, to feeling comfortable in nature? So Firing Farm partnered with a nonprofit, Everyone Outside, who does nature connection programs during the pandemic, and they started running programs out of our farm. And so our farm's next to a lot of hiking trails. So they were bringing young people. My kids participated, people in virtual school, and saying, here's this resource, but wow, we have this really, like, only people who can get here. So what would be like if we provided transportation? What would be, so reaching out to Kimura and saying, hey, you might have source of different folks or of young people that could really benefit from this in the way we're seeing our kids benefit. And so then that's how I met Emmanuel Naya, and then kind of said, hey, let's start a summer program. And it's like, we're building the plane as we're flying it, but seeing the connections between having access to resources, land, staff, and then saying, hey, Kimura, how do we partner to offer training? I was on a little bit earlier when I know Knox was on, and I think I see Patrick's name, talking about training and that technical support that the KCC provides. Hi, Patrick. And so Kimura came and, led training for all of the staff. We included my mom, who's 75 years old, and the farmer, like all of us involved in access to land, running programs for young people. What's it like to do the cultural humility and do that work that we need to do to be better humans? So what I miss, you both were there, I don't know, from the training and all that stuff, but.
So yeah, you was talking a lot about, even earlier we was talking about how the space allowed us to connect with a lot of people. I forgot about the Firing Farm somehow. But speaking of this Saturday, since you're here now, you know what I'm saying, we're having the farmers market at Knox, and I would love to have you participate. And I would love to connect you about how me and you can collab, so I can get out some stuff to Knox and help in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So let me know.
Yeah, no, I already talked to mom. My mom's Nancy Livensparger is our main farmer. So yeah, we're figuring out how many. I know. Farm her.
Give my love to Nancy too. I haven't seen her in a while.
I will. Huh?
We literally went there.
Yeah, but that I feel like
But Emmanuel used to be there every day. So
Yeah, I
only
miss it,
seeing
though.
Emmanuel once a month, that's not cool.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we're figuring out what canned, we can our own tomato sauces and pickles and stuff like that, and what to bring. I got a list. We're working on it. I just got to get it to you.
Yeah, even that connection, it helped me learn a lot about myself, and even like dealing with the children, like helping children grow. You learn a lot about yourself because like they ask the simplest questions, and especially being in nature. And it's like watching nature grow as nature is. It's just wild, beautiful. Like yeah, like even the connections with Nancy, like even here, like even with the elders, like I learned a lot about it, like learned a lot about myself, and those stories Nancy's was telling about how she grew up in where she's traveled to, and with Kimura, when Kimura came over and did that training for us, and she told us to have the story time with us and with the elders and the children, it was wild, and it let me know a lot about just life, and it helped me with a lot of my problems at the time too, because I was going through a lot. Helped me to just be patient and just like not take too many things personal and just relax in the moment, you know what I'm saying? Be like a tree, still like a tree. Like trees are very still, but they have a lot going on them. Like even though the bugs and the roaches, like carrying food to one part of the tree to another piece of the tree, you know what I'm saying? That community within the stillness of the tree, and then you got a whole lot of different bugs and a whole lot of different people. But just like this brave space, though some of those bugs may not agree with each other, they still are able to be in that community and able to help each other and communicate to have that tree grow beautifully and do what it needs to do to bear fruitful fruit, juicy fruit for the next generation, you know what I'm saying? So definitely, like, y'all miss y'all out there, man. I gotta definitely, I'll see y'all this Sunday. What is it, Sunday or Saturday? Y'all having the
yeah. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do too, is provide access. So our farm is next to 80 acres of land trust land with the Middlesex Land Trust. It's called the Palmer Taylor Preserve. So it was sort of like this 4 organizations coming together, everyone outside, Firing Farm, Kimura's Cultural Corner, and then the Land Trust. There's a barn across the street and hiking trails, and we help maintain the hiking trails. So sometimes you're on our farm and looking at what does it mean to grow food sustainably. We're trying to use biodynamic, / organic practices. What does it mean to grow something like callaloo, sort of Jamaican spinach right next to kale, right next to collards, and that's something Kimura and I have talked about, of bringing these different plants together that mean different things to different groups of people as a way to bridge communication, culture, humility, those kinds of things. And then we're also next to all this open space, and what does it mean to have 80 acres of open space that on one hand is being preserved, and that's awesome, and on the other hand that means it's not, who has access to it, so having those kinds of conversations. Yeah, so people are welcome. Let me know, like, if you want to come see what we're trying to do, you want to learn, we have canning classes, seedling growing classes, and then what Emmanuel's telling us on Sunday, we're going to take all the ginger we've been growing and do kind of candied ginger. My mom is an herbalist, I'm her apprentice. We both do aromatherapy and reflexology, and just the healing pieces of not only just nature connection in general, but also how we grow our food and then what we put in our bodies. So we're talking about that stuff. So Sunday folks are welcome. Everything's on a sliding fee scale, and that's a big part, is just making stuff accessible. And then sharing the space. If somebody knows something else about it or wants us to grow a thing and they want to come talk about it, we're again open to all of that. And we are working on a building on the property to make as a community space. We have lots of outdoor space, but as we know, things get rainy and colder, we're doing some construction, but we want to make a community space here too. So.
Yeah, that idea of of a shelter, that a
Mhm.
space that was meant, that now needs to be all seasons in the ongoing pandemic, that
Yeah.
we still need a gathering space that's outdoors, but maybe building shelters.
We have a big tent, but when it starts to snow, we got to take it down. But yeah.
It's amazing. I'm loving all this sharing about what everyone on, everyone on this Zoom, what everyone's working on, the resources that are being shared, the resources that are needed. That really is the model. That's the KCC model of resource sharing, of gathering resources, of fundraising. It's celebrating each other's needs and each other's gifts. So I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to actually share what they're working on and what they need and what they're offering. And I actually do want to bring it back, especially to the event at Knox on Saturday that the KCC is participating in. A beautiful thing that the KCC is doing is celebrating, like I know that Nightfall will be part of the KCC table at that event. So just that idea of abundance and sharing. And is there anyone else here? I definitely want to hear from Patrick and Emmanuel and Naya are staffing the KCC table on Saturday. But let's talk a little bit about Saturday, but also anyone else feel free to chime in about what you're working on so we can, help celebrate it and amplify it.
Yep. So this coming Saturday at Knox is our annual harvest market. So this is an opportunity for us to bring a full-scale farmers market to our little corner of Hartford on Laurel Street, between Park Street and Capitol Ave. So we've got about 20 vendors who will be in the greenhouse. We've of course have fresh produce, but we also have we'll have arts and crafts. I think Disco Forno is debuting their espresso bar, so that'll be kind of cool. We've got some local musicians who will be playing, so we'll be able to sort of lend the stage to them so they can share their music. So it's just a great opportunity to come together as we start to sort of turn our attention towards Thanksgiving and get ready for that to come together to celebrate the harvest of the season, but also to have a big market right in Hartford that's accessible to people. So we hope folks can join us. It goes from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And in addition to that, at 1 o'clock, we celebrate what's called the Hartford Urban Garden Society Awards. So these are the Hugs Awards, you may know them as. And really the core of the Hugs Awards is this crazy idea of it originated just in people literally like going around Hartford, and when they saw somebody whose like yard was particularly beautiful or had nice gardens that they were taking care of, like just taking a picture and then trying to figure out how they could recognize them. And I know we've got like some board members who have crazy stories about being like chased through Hartford, like people asking what the heck they're doing. And then at the end of it, they're all crying and laughing together at this award ceremony. So that will be taking place as a part of the event as well. And really the goal is highlighting people who are just taking care of their spaces in Hartford, and still very much has that sense of just sort of nominating people. And as we go through Hartford and see people who are really taking care and taking interest in their space, and front yards contribute a lot to the general beauty of a neighborhood and of a city. And so being able to recognize that just for what it is great. So all those things will be happening at Knox on Saturday at 75 Laurel Street. We hope we'll see you there. We hope you'll get an opportunity to connect with people. KCC will be there. We're very grateful that they are able to participate. We've got some other community organizations that will be there as well, just talking about works they do and different things going around Hartford. We'll have alpacas. So there's a vendor that keeps alpacas, and we'll bring them with them. And obviously they're not selling the alpacas, but the things that they've made whether it's wool or socks or scarves as well. So it's a lot of fun. And, you know, it's nice to be able to do it and also through all that to feature the work that our farmers are doing. So cornerstone of the event is whether it's Derek's hot sauce or the microgreens from Manny and Zania, just different folks who participated in the farming program in the past and still stay active with it, being able to share what they have within that environment.
Okay, I'm sorry again. I'm so bad at unmuting this computer. Thank you, Patrick. I'm really excited about the Harvest Fest on Saturday. Yeah. So I want to kind of bring it back a little bit to talking about supporting the KCC. And so today, the constant contact that went out had a bunch of ways that you can support the KCC. And honestly, okay, I think that's something that's great about the way that the KCC does things is that there's ways to support for every different type of person, and like any type of thing that like you is your strong suit or is something you're interested in, you're able to do, or is something that you can do, is available to you to be able to support the KCC so that the KCC can support the community as at large, and you know, giving to receive to then give again. I feel like that's something like if people could talk about how like what is the way that you support the KCC that you feel like is connected to like I do this because this is the way I can support the KCC, as opposed to I'm doing this because this is the like, you know what I mean? Does anyone have any anything they want to say about that?
Well, I can. I mean, that was one of the ways even early on before the KCC had the the lot space, the land, was just meeting with Kimura, bringing my mom, saying what is it that you need, and even if it wasn't necessarily a financial donation, but growing plants, growing seeds, helping be in the space to dream into the idea. My mom's done a lot of kind of garden design, and so offering up that as a resource, so sort of knowledge to the community, if that's what the ask was, not coming in and saying this is what I think you should do, but like these were the things that were asked of us that we could contribute, and working at that. So that makes me think of it early on in my a couple years ago, in the relationship, and then being open to the community coming to the farm, and being open to saying, hey, we could really use this food or this vegetable in changing our plan. So just that reciprocity back and forth of not only meeting awesome folks and being able to then benefit from personnel or staff or leaders in the things we were doing, but also being willing to change our plans because that's what the community needed. If that makes sense, but that's what comes up for me.
Yeah, that resonated with me when you sort of described asking folks at the KCC, what do you need? So that resonates, like the idea of sometimes it is money that's needed, and sometimes it's volunteer hours, it's just time and participation, and that idea of showing up. And sometimes it's about conversation, like really listening instead of like, here's this thing I have. That happens a lot with clothing donations, or the whole idea of food waste. you know, what kind of food can be shared that's useful to the people that you're offering it to. And so that idea of just taking a step back and saying, what do you need? And then listening to the answer and matching the need with the resources that you might be able to offer. I think that's really beautiful. And that's definitely, for me, that's part of the KCC way. Like so like I have expertise that comes from different parts of my life. But those expertises, especially the things that were learned in the larger nonprofits that I've worked at, how do I listen so that I'm offering that expertise in a way that actually fits with the KCC philosophy, and that it actually is a sharing of resources instead of an imposition of my own belief or my own traditions.
So Jennifer, I wanted to ask you, because or actually, who here is a member of the KCC through like you purchased a membership? Because yeah, so I'd like to hear from all of you about like that, like why did you decide to become a member? Like how can you do that? Because I'm sure you know since you did it. And like what do you feel like you get out of that?
I'll go first since you said my name. When I bought an annual membership last year, which I'll renew soon. And I believe the direct inspiration, although I was already involved with the KCC, but the direct information to give money to buy a membership was the whole idea of listen to Black women and do what they say. So just giving money to Camorra and others in Camorra's space so that they could do their thing with it. So not saying like, wait until I get a benefit from this, or wait until like, what are the membership benefits? It was just like, here's a way to express my support for that idea of Camorra specifically, but the 2020 and forever before 2020, but that whole message of like, we're in this crisis as a society, and let's see what happens if we let Black women lead. And then the kind of support and joy and help that I've gotten by participating in Afrocentric spaces. So especially spaces led by Black women, I've benefited a lot from that, but just becoming a member and seeing what happened was my inspiration so that was $100 membership I bought last year. Just on faith, because I knew that it was the right time to be in Black spaces.
I have a membership that I've bought as well, but I also support on Patreon because I feel like there's ongoing needs. Camorra is always up to something, and I know she can always use some money for whatever it is, however she needs to use it, and that there isn't any, it's the easy thing for white women to do is give money, and I know that I fall back on it a lot, but I bought the membership because I felt like I wanted to be part of the community, and so it, when it was in the space over at the Kabbalah Center, and it wasn't COVID, I was able to go to the space and, come to events and go to the open mics. And I know we haven't had open mics in a while that have been on Zoom. They've been at the KCC, and I haven't been able to go to Sterling Street because of my whole situation with, my husband being immune suppressed and us being in sort of formal lockdown. But I felt like it was a way of saying I want to be part of the community and part of a solution without imposing any of my own, as you said, imposing any of my own thoughts about what's needed. And that's, and that's why I've been sharing. I share on my Facebook page all the time things that are going on at the KCC, and I'm trying to tell my friends, you don't have to live here to support this. You can support it and know that it's happening, and and support the work. And I think that's important. I really hope a time comes where I'm able to be more actively participating in events and coming to the bazaars and all of that. I mean, that's just really challenging for me right now. But I do also want to offer, and I know we've talked about this before, I'm a deaf midwife, and I would like to offer a community conversation on planning for your death in the queer community, especially like how to protect your gender identity, how to make sure that you have people in place to take over things so that you don't wind up having things happen to you and your body after you die that aren't respectful of who you are as a person. And sometimes just even having the conversation about death and dying, knowing the options that are available to you, and so that's something I would like to put out there for a future community conversation, actual resources to help you plan for, you know, the end of life, and what you need to put in place to protect yourself. Oh, mute.
I had joined the membership or paid for the membership. I believe it was after the first bazaar that I had gone to, and got to learn a little bit about what I really didn't know what I was walking into, to be honest. And it was just so much more than what I expected it to be. And I was curious at that point. I wanted to know more. Like Catherine said, I wanted to be part of the community. And I felt like that was a great first step to start that connection and figure out ways after that on how to learn more. Yeah, it was just, it's been pretty incredible. And yeah, I'm thankful for that introduction, and just love to continue to support in any way I can.
Not an answer to your question, and I apologize for being late, and now I apologize. I have bedtime. I have little humans. But it was lovely to meet you all. I have to hop off. But yeah, resources. I forgot about the Patreon. I do that. But yeah, sharing space, sharing staff, sharing love, and eat healthy food. That's what I got. But it was great to see you all. Thank you. And I dropped some links in the chat for the farm, and I put in Knox, which you probably had before I got on, but just so I'll try to get bread and butter pickles to Knox for Saturday. I'm on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. Have a good
Yeah.
bed.
Yes.
The
yes.
kids are saying what's up.
I will. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. So thank you three for sharing that about the memberships. I just had a thought in my head and it left.
What I love about the even being in a space is that it allows you to bring your specialty to the forefront, and she puts full control in your hands and lets you be able to be like, okay, what do you want to do, instead of being do this, do that, do this, that, and third. You feel me? She says, okay, what is your specialty? What do you do on a daily basis that you like to do that you think could benefit your community on top of that? So you're not just a mindless slave like most of this, like, you feel me? It allows you to be yourself in this brave space and allows you to connect with other people and be able to be yourself and be beneficial and not feel like you're being controlled and having to do whatever Simon says, basically, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's all love, and it's able to, gives you space. and time to even connect and be able to be yourself. Like a lot of spaces that you try to go to, it'll be like work, right? It'll be like, oh, you gotta punch a 9 to 5 and you gotta you gotta do what you're told. And it's not like that. It's all free and it's all love. And you can come whenever you want, or you just show some, all it takes is $3. $3 a month, and you could show up whenever you have the time. Whenever you have the time to be able to be there, like you show your support, and it's not no lockdown or anything like that. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, so yeah, right. That idea of yeah, like each of us has gifts or expertises or curiosities that we can share in any of these spaces. So like the farm, the KCC, any of these, I would say the vendors that we met at the KCC that became Nightfall vendors at our event, because all of us who share affinity for kind of the way we want these spaces to feel for people, which is not hierarchical. It's about each of us coming as ourselves. And then, so volunteering at the KCC, there's expectations, right? Like sometimes you show up and there's work to do, but there's real care that happens in connecting what you're offering with what's needed, instead of like, here's the box you need to fit into. So I find that really joyous. And I do think that is something that's more queer, more Afrocentric, more feminine in many ways, like kind of just rejecting that hierarchical way of doing work. It's just better. And that's a motivation for volunteering at the KCC. It feels good. It's a way that it's community care instead of hierarchy.
Right. And then for those spaces that you don't like, for those spaces where you don't have expertise, or if you don't know anything, it gives you space to grow, because the people that you're meeting on top of that, like the people that you're meeting, like Aaron at Firing Farms, it allowed me to, I was studying herbalism and all of that stuff and studying how to become a farmer. And the KCC allowed me to actually branch off and actually go to a farm and actually go hands-on and learn how to do all those things that I've been striving to do for the past 2 years before I've even met. So yeah, and it just allowed me a lot of space and time to do what I needed to do.
Which is a good example of giving to receive to then give again. Because Emmanuel being able to go to the farm and learn all that stuff, he's able to then bring that back and work in the KCC's herb garden. So I think that that's a beautiful example.
Definitely good bring around.
I want to say the Black Arts Heal Tour was particularly meaningful to me in the midst of COVID, to pack up a camper and take people on a journey. I know that for the people who participated in going on the journey, it was very moving, and they learned a lot. I learned a lot. And the exposure to Black artists, local Black artists, has been really beautiful in my life. I've been able to find, discover new forms of art that I didn't appreciate, and appreciate it from a place of understanding of what is coming, where that art is coming from and how it's coming out, and helping to support local artists. Olu and his poetry, and Tree and his painting, and Anne, especially Anne, and Yo-Yo, and it's just been such a growth experience. And that tour, like, it was sort of like in the beginning when she said, we're going on tour, and it's like, no, it's COVID, what are you doing? But it was so important. And following the videos and being able to watch as they went to each of these places, it was so powerful to watch each person as they experienced the journey and how it changed them. And it just is something that touched my heart really deeply. And I'm really grateful that I had an opportunity to share in that by, seeing where they went and what happened and how they've changed and grown as people and how I've changed and grown as a person.
Naya and Emmanuel, this is your community conversation, and we still have a whole 20 minutes left, but I want to make sure that we do some plugs and talk about some important dates. So do you want me to do that?
That would be awesome.
Okay. So we'll have more time for questions and discussion, but I'm going to do the stuff that needs to happen before our time is over. And a lot of this we've already talked about, but I want to put it in a really clear nutshell. So I'm going to do it by the dates, and then I'll talk about the stuff that needs to happen. So the first important date for us right now is November 20th. This Saturday is 2 great opportunities to support the KCC and to support each other. The first is that it's the last day of our hoodie fundraiser. So you have the link, and in case you lose the link, you can find it all over the KCC social media. Please share it out. The hoodie fundraiser is such a great way for people to represent the KCC, represent Hartford. It's a great holiday gift. Saturday is the last day. Limited edition Black Labyrinth hoodie and t-shirt. Get it now and share that opportunity, especially for holiday gifts. And then of course the Knox Holiday Fest, which we've talked about, and that's going to be a beautiful community gathering. The KCC will be there. They'll be helping represent all of us, including Nightfall and other partner organizations. A beautiful thing about the KCC's Patreon is that they also share out direct to artist Patreons as well as part of that campaign. So that's November 20th. Hoodies and Knox, don't forget. The next important date is Rainbow Friday. So if you get the Constant Contact and if you don't sign up for the KCC newsletters, the Constant Contact gave a little bit of an introduction about Rainbow Friday being an important day to celebrate the members of our community who give so much back, who might maybe be struggling on the day after Thanksgiving. Maybe, I would say especially trans kids and others who don't have solid ways. It's kind of a hard day for many in our community, people who we love and want to take care of. And Rainbow Friday instead of Black Friday, which is all about capitalism and shopping, let's make it about Rainbow Friday and community and support, mutual aid, mutual support. So that's November 26th, the day after Thanksgiving, supporting directly our own community members. November 30th, so that's the traditional Giving Tuesday, which is part of the nonprofit industrial complex, but it's also a very important day in the KCC's monthly fundraising. So November 30th, the last day of the month, we do a lot of work on our Patreon so that then the money gets shared back out at the beginning of every month. So don't forget about November 30th. In the noise of Giving Tuesday, remember the KCC and all of its friends. Let's keep it local on Giving Tuesday is my plea. Let's think about Hartford. Let's think about our overlapping communities, and let's give to that, to receive, to give back, and supporting the KCC is a beautiful way to do that. And then just a preview that the KCC is going to have another solstice celebration. That's going to be on December 18th. So we're celebrating on Saturday. So an opportunity to gather on Sterling Street for the solstice. So that's just a little preview. Save the date, Saturday, December 18th. And that's another way to be in community together and celebrate each other's gifts.
Yes.
Much love to her.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that that's a good stopping point unless other people have other thoughts.
Any other questions? Any other observations? Statements?
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for sharing what you shared. Please do buy our t-shirts. Buy a hoodie. It's winter. It's cold. You need one.
The link is right there.
The link is right there. Scan it. Kimura
Gotta
made that
iPhone.
QR code. She likes to make QR codes, and so now we have a lot of QR codes. And here's one that you can use right now to buy our hoodies.
Your iPhone.
Yep.
Scroll up, scroll down.
Mhm.
If you don't have the QR code in your this thing right here, the swipe up piece, where's the camera? And the
You can just
swipe
do
up
it on your
piece.
camera too.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, you can buy our hoodies. And that ends Saturday. So please. And yes, so support us on Patreon, buy our hoodies, all the things. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we'll see you next week.
And
Have a
don't
good- oh.
forget, give to receive to give again. You know what I'm saying?
Good night, everyone.
Definitely good night.